Alright, so I'm glad I took care of that misconception because so many people don't understand that. Finally, the final staples are Fusilier Dragon and Barbaros because Skill Drain resets their attack. Everyone knows that. Now, finally, I have three different themes that have consistently done well for Malefics. The first is a virus theme, which I don't have an example of for you today, but essentially, they're going to run 3 copies of Fusilier, 3 copies of Malefic Stardust, 3 copies of Malefic Cyber End, and maybe Axe Dragon Ute. They're going to run a lot of high-powered dark monsters, and they're going to run Eradicator Epidemic Virus and Deck Devastation Virus to destroy all your opponent's opening moves. These cards are extremely devastating in this meta because how it generally works is that a bunch of weak monsters become a few strong monsters in this meta. Destroying those weak monsters immediately with a virus is going to cripple a deck. Also, crippling spell cards earlier was going to cause a lot of trouble too. So virus decks are really fun to do, and they work well with Malefics because Malefics are all high-powered dark monsters. The second theme is right here. This is a stun theme. And the point is to have fewer monsters. In my case, I only count 14 because of card car. And hell, only 12 because only few of them are readily summoned to the field. You have your fewer monsters. You have Draw Power, Dark Hole for destruction, Gear Town for field presence, and Terraforming to net you your field spells. But the backbone of this deck are trap cards. Obviously, you have the Skill Drain. Now, you're going to say, what does Sanctuary in the Sky do for Malefics? Directly, it doesn't do anything, but it gives you access to Divine Punishment. I've already broken this deck down, sort of, in another breakdown deck profile, but I'm just touching it over really quickly. It can negate anything, or almost anything. It can negate a spell, trap, or affect monster's effect. So, as long as Sanctuary is on the field. So that it's a very trap-centric deck. It's very stun, anti-meta oriented, because you have Thunder King Ryo to negate Exceed summons. You have a side deck geared to stopping the meta with all these different cards. Ask me any questions if you want to know some more synergy about this deck. But yeah, the second idea is running fewer monsters and more defensive cards, especially defensive cards like Divine Punishment that are pretty versatile. And the third and final one, which is my preferred way to run Malefics, are a beatdown version, where if you incorporate an engine such as Dark World, which is very fast and aggressive, yet inconsistent, with the slowed down theme of Malefics, it all balances out, creates a really great synergy, and everything's really tight and aggressive. There's almost no defense in this deck, though. You only see Solemn Judgment, that's the only defense, but the idea is to smash through your opponent before they can do anything, before they can set anything up. Your only hope is that they don't have a ton of spell and trap removal, which they usually won't have enough to stop all of your drains and everything. Has incredible draw power, has field destruction, has obviously a ton of attack power, and it has great synergy. So my favorite way of running Malefics are beatdown, although my stun deck also works very well. I ran into someone challenged me on Dueling Network. I'm not going to reveal his name. But he copied my deck card for card, and I had no idea who he was. I've given other people permission to use my deck, and that's cool. And even if they just wanted to do it to try it out, that's cool. But he copies my deck card for card and then challenges me with it, which I thought was kind of low. Thankfully, I was using my Sanctuary build at the time. Completely overwhelmed him. He didn't even understand how Malefics worked. That's why I'm making this thing. He tried to summon 2 Malefics, his own Malefic when Skill Drain was on the field, blah, blah, blah. So, I'm building this because there's so many people that don't understand truly how Malefics work and their rulings and what's a good strategy to use for them, that I wanted to make this. So you can see how this works. And by the way, the theme of my side deck is turning this completely into a stun deck by taking out all the Dark World and setting in my Zeradius engine. So finally, my final point about Malefics is, I've touched on this earlier, but Malefics require a consistent theme and a very tight build. Obviously, my theme for my stun deck is Sanctuary in the Sky and Divine Punishment. Provides for a ton of added defense, and it makes it very hard for your opponent to get anything off if you're negating everything they try and do. My theme for my aggro deck, my beatdown deck, is Dark World, because it combines a lot of field destruction and raw attack power, as well as draw power, searching, and its inconsistencies are masked or hidden by the slow methodical pace of the Malefics. So it's that kind of thinking that you need to do when building your own Malefic deck. And unfortunately, I've seen a lot of, whenever I run in a Malefic deck, it's either a watered down version of my Malefic Dark World deck. For example, the one that won YCS Long Beach. I think my deck is much better than it, and I'd like to go up against it someday. Meanwhile, my stun deck is I don't know where I was going with that one. I just completely blanked out. My bad. But anyway, your decks need to be tight-knit. You can't afford dead draws, which is why you only run Stardust and Cyber End. And overall, the Malefic archetype is for aggressive duelists who like to overwhelm their opponents with sheer attack power, like I do. I'm not a big fan of looping. I'm not a big fan of one-turn kills. I'm a fan of actually dueling. I don't like destroying the other person's hand. I don't like destroying 2 cards per turn with irritating overused effects. I like winning by wearing them down. I like winning with attack power. And if you're an aggressive duelist like I am, then the Malefic archetype is for you. Because every single way to run Malefics are more aggressive in one way or another. I'm not a fan of the viruses because it does essentially exactly what I just complained about, which is destroy the opponent's opening hand. I'm not a big fan of that at all. But at the same time, it's there for those who like to run it. So this is my breakdown of the Malefic archetype. Not quite sure what I'm going to do next, but hopefully I can either get you a new deck profile of a fun deck. I might do my traditional Teledad deck, or I might do another archetype profile, depending on whether or not I find another archetype I'm interested in. Alright, so if you have any questions or anything, leave a comment on this, or you can contact me on Dueling Network with the username Brave Vesperia, / before and after the B. Brave Vesperia, over and out.